Hi, I thought I'd make a quick video explaining a little bit about the Disney DAS Pass. The DAS Pass is a disability access scheme that Disney run. There's lots on the internet, lots on Facebook groups of people saying, oh, it's awful and it's really hard to get. And so I thought that I would run through it and how we got DAS Pass for our most recent trip. Now, telling you a little bit about our household, we describe ourselves as a neurospicy household. So I have a 14-year-old daughter who is diagnosed with autism. She actually attends a specialist UK school setting, which is a school specially developed to educate children with autism, what they call high functioning autism, but it's basically she has issues with social communication issues rather than any physical issues with her autism. I have a 16-year-old son. He is what I would call autistic but undiagnosed. So we didn't pursue diagnosis from him because his ability to cope in mainstream school setting was okay. As he's got older, that ability has gone away, and now we wish we had got him diagnosed. But if you know anything about diagnosis in the UK, you know that it takes a long time, and he is about to sit his GCSEs and we have run out of time. So he will likely pursue diagnosis as an adult. My husband has spent the whole of the diagnosis process with our children saying, I did that, and that reminds me of me, and that's me. Which is basically means that we believe that he is autistic and he has been autistic his whole life and he's just learned to cope with the autism, which is a position lots of people find themselves in currently, hitting the age that we are and actually realising that there's this other thing in the background that has been there the whole time. I do not present with any autistic tendencies. I occasionally have little what might be deemed as dips into ADHD behaviour, but it's nothing that has ever caused me any problems or any struggles in my life that I can think of. But every now and then, what we say is the squirrels be squirreling. So my brain tends to get itchy and I tend to start spiralling down an ADHD kind of path. But I would not describe myself as ADHD, as having ADHD. And I think it's very important to say that people with autism, it's a big thing that they have to deal with. It's a lifelong thing that they have to deal with. And in this household, we have lots of examples of that. And that causes us to change the way we book and deal with holidays. So for us, we do lots and lots of research about what is happening. When we hit Disney, there is nothing really that surprises us. We've watched ride POV videos, we've looked at snack videos, we've looked at the maps and how we're going to navigate the parks. We've talked about all the different types of transport. Everything has been discussed before we get to Disney, except for the DAS Pass. That's because if you're booking from the UK, you're not able to get the DAS Pass. I believe in America, if you're in America, you can book a timed call with a cast member, go through the whole process before you even hit the parks, as long as you have a valid ticket. In the UK, you can't do that. We tried everything to try and get that appointment. We put on VPN networks, which is private networks, to say that we were in America, couldn't get the booking. We tried everything we could. Eventually, I phoned up the Disney helpline and they told me, no, you cannot advance get the DAS Pass. You have to attend the park and go to guest services and do it there. So we were very nervous about this because for us, not having that DAS Pass could really, really affect our holiday. Now, it's easy to say it could have a big effect on our holiday without anybody realising what that could mean. For us, it would have meant less time in the parks, less rides achieved, a lot more breakdowns and meltdowns from everybody's point of view, and maybe not as good a holiday as the one we had. One of the biggest issues that we have is that my daughter gets very, very nervous and anxious around flying insects. She has a whole phobia if she can hear a slight buzzing noise. this will send her into a bit of a tailspin. And if she's already heightened because of the noise, the people, the being in a strange environment, the unknown of it all, that can really send her into flight or fight mode. So we could be in a queue, there's lots of people around us, lots of noise, lots of things going on. It could be a dark space, which a lot of the queues can get into their dark areas. And if she hears a buzzing noise that she thinks might be a bee or wasp, or sees a very small fly or fruit fly or small bug, she would potentially run from where we are with no idea of where she's going. It's almost like she's not present when she does it, and she would scream and run out, and we would have to, take off chasing her and trying to make sure she keeps herself safe. So that was our biggest concern, is that that would happen. If you've ever had an autistic meltdown happen in public, which if you're watching this video, I would presume you have autistic children or children with neurodivergency, everybody stares. Everybody stares at you. And all you can do is try and maintain the safety and security of your own child while everybody judges you and watches you. And it's awful. It's truly an awful thing. For her, because she's 14, she's then aware that everybody is staring. She's then aware that everybody is looking at her. Everybody's judging what she's done. Everybody's thinking about this strange child that's just behaved in this way. So for her, it's a real trigger. And she could potentially then shut down for the rest of the day. So we'd become withdrawn, not want to take part in activities, not want to go anywhere, not want to articulate what we're feeling, and just basically not happy. And nobody wants to be in Disney and be not happy. That's not the point of Disney. So for us, the dust pass would have been a huge benefit. We knew that going in. We had read so many horror stories on Facebook of people who really felt that they should get dust pass and didn't, people who talked about how awful the process was, and it made us really, really concerned and really anxious. And if you've already dealing with anxiety before the trip because of all the other things that you've got to navigate as parents of autistic children or parents with neurodiverse children, then this, as an added thing, it's just scary and it's unknown, and it caused us a lot of anxiety. However, our dealings with it were really, really positive. So I wanted to talk a bit about that, so that everybody else could know what the process is. So the first park we attended was Epcot. We chose to do Epcot as a family first. We went through the gates straight to guest services, which is quite close to the entrance to Epcot. There was no real queue. It was first thing in the morning because we're early morning people. We get there when the park's open and in we go. I spoke to a cast member and they said, right, well, we don't do them here. What we have to do is put you on a Teams call with somebody from guest relations. They will talk to you and talk you through the process. You can either do that on your own device, or they do have iPads they can give to you to be able to do those calls. I chose to do it on my iPhone because it was just easier for me. The person who has the condition has to be available to see these people as well. So for us, it was me and my daughter while my son and husband waited outside in the heat. We were in an air-conditioned building. Now there's no tables or chairs or anywhere to sit inside guest relations at Epcot. It has some window ledges, and we sat on one of the window ledges tucked away, but there is no privacy that you can go to. It's all sort of one big room. So you bear that in mind if you've got sensitive issues to talk about. We entered a call with a cast member who explained the process to us. And she basically said that it's a tiered approach. So you speak to this cast member, and if she agrees that it's something that you probably need, you then speak to a clinical professional, and they then will speak to you. And then if they agree that it's something you need, you go from there. So we spoke to the lady. I spoke to her for probably about 10 minutes, talking about what it was that we had, so the condition that Hannah has, what her diagnosis was, what her life was like in the UK in terms of like specialised schooling and settings like that. We talked for 10 minutes about that. She asked lots of questions, but the biggest question that they come back to repeatedly is, why can't your person stand in a queue? They would ask it straight like that. They would kind of twist it and ask it in a different way. Essentially, they're trying to establish why queuing and being in a queue system is not something that you can do. Now, for us, I've talked about the issue with bees and wasps, but we have also the issue with people and personal space, and the unknown noises and the kind of the darkness that can cause, that queues can have, the loudness of a queue system, especially if you're in a kind of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, for example, that has quite a loud area to it, and that can cause us issues. So aside from the bees and wasps, there are so many issues that we would have with queuing. That cast member then spoke to us. She then asked to speak to Hannah. Hannah was able to come onto the video with me. She did brilliantly, really, really well. She articulated, at 14, she's able to articulate why she feels it's hard for her to do these things and what impact it can have on her day. So, for example, we may have been able to stand in a queue, but that could then lead to anxiety for her, and only being able to stay in the parks for a small amount of time because her ability to be in those queues is limited. So after a couple of big queues, she would then say, okay, I'm done. I can't do any more. That person then said to us, okay, we're going to put you on to the clinical professional. So the call kind of goes quiet for a moment, and in that particular moment, a fly came in the room. So we had to relocate ourselves from one side of the room to the other. And the clinical professional came on when we were midway through doing that. So she witnessed us kind of trying to move, and I explained to her why we were moving. She was really positive. The clinical professional asks the same sort of questions. However, there is a change in how she asks them. So she's asking more from a point of knowing what autism is, what troubles that can cause for us. I would imagine it will be different clinical professionals depending on what you're talking about. Now, she then spoke to me for, again, another 5 or 6 minutes. Then she spoke to Hannah, and it was Hannah she was interested in speaking to. So Hannah was able to articulate herself well again, and spoke very fluently about what her difficulties would be. And the clinical professional then said, yep, I agree, you do need the DAS pass, and we'll get it logged onto your account and you'll be good to go. You get it for 3 weeks. And that was it. Took about half an hour all in all for the DAS pass to be agreed for us. There were lots of people in the room that were also having similar conversations. You could see people sat down with iPads talking to people. So I would imagine there were lots of people there at that time. But for us, it really did not take long at all. They weren't intrusive. They didn't ask lots of really, really personal questions. They just wanted to know what the difficulties were. Some things to remember are that they will not look at documentation. So there is no point taking your diagnosis letter, letters from your school, doctor's notes. Disney will not look at any of that. That's your private information, and they are not interested in that. So I, for travelling purposes, took photographs of these documents on my phone just so that I had them available if we had issues in the airport or issues with the airlines and things like that. I wanted to have those documents, but I didn't need to take my letters with me. So they won't look at your personal documentation. They do need to speak to or see the person who has the condition. So when you go in, you have to have that person with you. For us, we had preempted this, and I'd spoken to Hannah, and at 14, she's able to understand that, yeah, I'm going to be talking about her, and I'm going to be talking about her difficulties. And if she finds that overwhelming, she could choose to move away for a moment or put her headphones on and listen to some music for a moment, but she would also have to speak to someone. So bear in mind for your young person that they do have to have that conversation. So they do need to be forward armed about that, because they need to have that conversation with the cast member. But all in all, the process was really quick. We didn't have a problem at all. It is harder to do now than it was when we went to Disney back in 2019. We went with friends. My friend's son was already diagnosed with autism at that stage. Our child wasn't. She was still going through the process, so we didn't have a diagnosis. At that time, you could just go into guest services and say, my child's autistic, and it was almost like, off you go. Here is your access to the disability service. There wasn't a lot of discussion or proof needed. It was also very different then, because you could have a member of your party with the DAS pass, and that person could not want to go on a ride, but if other party members did, they were able to go on the DAS pass. The DAS pass gives you the ability to not stand in the queue. You still have to wait the posted queue time, but you don't need to stand in the queue in order to do it. So when you book onto the DAS pass and it comes onto your app, on your My Disney Experience app, and it's also on your Magic Bands, when you have that ability, you can go onto the app, look at the rides that you want to go on. If, for example, Haunted Mansion has a 45-minute wait time, you can select that you would like a return time. It will then tell you to return between a certain bracket, normally 45 minutes from the time that you're booking onto the ride. You then return and go through the Lightning Lane entrance. Once you've gone through the Lightning Lane entrance, the person with the DAS pass, so for our 14-year-old daughter, she scanned her Magic Band first. Her picture then pops up on a cast member's iPad. They then select to say yes, they can see that it's her going into the ride, and then the other party members can then scan in and go with her. If she doesn't want to go on a ride, you don't get to use DAS Pass for that ride. It's only for the experiences and the rides that the person with the pass wants to go on. So they must always be there. So, for example, for us, there were a couple of rides that my husband wanted to do. We did not get to use a DAS pass for those. We actually booked individual lightning lanes for those so that we knew we had a time slot to go to. Other things to remember is it's not for every single ride. It's every ride with a wait time, but experiences like the Villains show at Hollywood Studios, you cannot use your DAS pass to get special entrance into that. In those types of situations, you still have to queue with everybody else to be able to enter those shows. Character meet and greets. Now, I'm not certain with some of these because some are on the DAS pass, some aren't. We didn't do a lot of character meet and greets. My 14-year-old was not up for lots of characters this trip. The trip before in 2019, she loved them. But as a 14-year-old, I think she was a bit too cool for school. She wanted to meet a couple of the princesses, which we did do. And the princesses in Magic Kingdom, in the Princess Pavilion, then you can get on the DAS Pass. But everything else, as far as I'm aware, you cannot use your DAS Pass to book into it. And that's it. We have the whole 3 weeks of the DAS Pass on our My Experience app. We utilised it really well. It meant we could go on lots of rides. I'll do another video where I talk about like the practicalities of trying to fit those rides in and how we could do that and what kind of wait you have, because although you don't have to wait the 45 minutes, there is still an element of queuing that you have to go through, that you have to navigate when you have neurodivergency going on. So I'll go through that in a bit more detail in another video. But just to say, it isn't as scary as it's made out to be on the internet. Cast members are trying to keep the service for the people who actually need the service. I think it has been abused in the past, and now it's a lot more robust of a system to make sure that it's going to the people that need it. So if you feel that your child can stand in a queue and you don't need DAS Pass, don't enter into it, don't get it. But if you think it's going to be something that you need, don't panic about it. Just have those conversations with Disney. They're there to make your life easier. They don't want to be difficult. And they want you to have a magical experience. That's part of what makes you go back and spend more money with them. So all in all, it was an easy process for us. I think by going to one of the smaller parks rather than Magic Kingdom probably meant that we got it a little quicker. But yeah, can't say that for definite because I've not had the experience at Magic Kingdom. The cast members were really good. They tried their hardest to help us. And that's it. As I said, I'll make another video talking about navigating Disney with neurodivergency and how we did it as a family and the things that we experienced and the tricks and tips that we had to make our day go easier. That will all come in a further video. Hopefully this helps someone in just have a wonderful time at Disney, and they are there to help you. Thanks very much. Bye.